This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah
on 77 WABC.
Yep, that's me. Good morning. It is Thursday, July 24th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sun and clouds. Going to be awfully humid today, high 87. Tonight and overnight, some clouds, low 76, and then even hotter for Friday. Sunshine, hot and humid, high 97. If you are walking out the door with us right now, it is 69 and cloudy in Mount Vernon up in Westchester County, 65 and cloudy in Edison over in New Jersey, and it's 68 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
We are getting more details on the school cell phone ban. More strap hangers are paying the fare down below. The same guy keeps attacking the summer stage in Central Park. Wait, electric bills are going up in New Jersey again? And a little shop in Brooklyn makes the best egg sandwich in New York. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. We're getting more details about this Long Island man who's facing federal charges for allegedly placing homemade bombs on a Manhattan rooftop and on subway tracks. 55-year-old Michael Gans accused of building these IEDs with materials that he just bought online and then storing them on residential rooftops in Soho. Now, he didn't live in any of these places. He lived out on Long Island, but the people who lived in these buildings, they were some of the ones who tipped the authorities off to this guy.
In the course of 6 months, I saw him like 10 times on the roof.
So neighbors called police, but they thought someone was living on the roof. Another bomb was dropped onto the tracks of the Williamsburg Bridge. None of these bombs went off, so that's the good news. Nobody was hurt. Authorities say they had 600 times the force of commercial fireworks, so they could have done some real damage. Gann was arrested back on June 5th, the same day he had posted on X these words, "Who wants to go out and play like no tomorrow?" This Soho resident says the whole incident was very unusual. Yeah, well, it is.
I mean, obviously, it's pretty bizarre. You know, it's someone's living on the roof. It seemed like it was pretty important. Seemed like there was something significant that they were looking into.
So I was reading the documents, or at least some of it anyway, about what this guy was up to, and nobody was explaining what his motive was, and prosecutors aren't 100% sure what his motive was, but he did post things on X about being against immigration, and he tagged the president in some of those posts on X. Two people who turned him in also, so there were a number of people who turned him in, but two people who apparently were either in his house or outside of his house on Long Island say that he exploded one of these bombs. There was this large flash that scared them, so they went to authorities. They also say he rambled on about Jews and then pointed at a nearby Jewish school. So, again, they don't know 100% what the motives are, but they think maybe both those things involved.
It's shocking to hear that. It's very shocking to hear that because, you know, he was a very quiet guy.
Yeah.
Weird guy.
It's always the quiet guy.
But just to know what he was doing and how things could have ended by his choices.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a good thing this guy is off the streets. 5:03, Jeffrey Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell going to be formally subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee.
The letter signed by committee chair James Comer says Maxwell is to be deposed on August 11th at Federal Correctional Institution, Tallahassee. This comes as lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have put pressure on the Trump administration to release more files related to Epstein. Maxwell is serving a 20-year prison sentence after being convicted on sex trafficking charges in 2021. I'm Brian Shook.
Columbia University agreeing to pay $200 million over the next 3 years to resolve claims it discriminated against Jewish students. An agreement the university said will restore hundreds of millions of dollars in federal grants that the Trump White House had terminated or paused earlier this year. Now, in a statement, Columbia says it does not admit any wrongdoing with this resolution. The institution's leaders say they've recognized repeatedly that Jewish students and faculty have experienced painful, unacceptable incidents and that reform was needed. That was the statement from the university yesterday. In addition, the school agreed to pay $21 million to settle investigations brought by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Columbia also agreed to submit to a federal monitor that will assure compliance with admissions and hiring practices and provide certain information about foreign students to immigration authorities. This whole agreement puts an end to a months-long dispute with the Trump White House over that federal funding. 5:05. We're getting more details now about how the New York City school system will implement that state-mandated cell phone ban beginning in September.
No cell phones at the city's public schools this coming year. No tablets or smartwatches either. All devices that are internet-enabled will be banned from schools in the nation's largest district this fall. That word from Mayor Adams and schools chancellor Melissa Aviles Ramos Wednesday. There will be exemptions for students who need devices for medical reasons. This as schools across the state face a coming deadline for submitting their school cell phone ban plans to Albany. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
You'll remember this, not a lot that's new about this. You'll remember during the Bloomberg administration, he banned phones from school. Now they'll have to implement this again, and they're working this out during the course of the summer. The plans have to be handed over to Governor Hochul, who implemented this ban by August 1. The NYPD says if you live in some neighborhoods up in the Bronx, you should keep your wits about you. In other words, don't walk down the street staring at your phone because another crew of people on mopeds are out to steal anything they can grab from you.
Police in the Bronx are issuing a warning about another moped pattern robbery, this time in Parkchester. There have been 8 robberies in the past 2 months in which 2 men on a single moped ride up to victims and snatch whatever they can grab, typically necklaces.
I was getting into my car when I saw there was a kid coming. I closed the door. He said hello, ripped off the chain, and kept going.
These latest incidents come just a month after Mayor Eric Adams said there's been a 68% decrease so far this year in moped pattern robberies. I'm Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 5:08 out to Ohio, where 3 police officers there wounded yesterday afternoon in what officials are calling just a total ambush. 2 of these officers were just sitting in their patrol car yesterday eating lunch when they were shot with a high-powered rifle.
He was laying in wait and opened fire with multiple rounds at both of the officers who were sitting in their vehicles.
The shooting happened in Lorraine. That's about 30 miles west of Cleveland. 2 officers shot multiple times, airlifted to a hospital. A third treated for a gunshot wound to his hand.
Suspect was shot on scene and was pronounced deceased.
Yeah, so that's the good news. They got the gunman. What his motive was, why he did this, we just don't know. The gunman was lying in wait and apparently was well armed.
Suspect had parked at the dead end of Missouri Avenue, and he had an arsenal of weapons with him.
Yeah, we were looking for an update on the condition of those officers this morning, and we could not get one. 5:09, down to Florida, where a Canadian tourist recovering today after being bitten by a shark at Hollywood Beach. Fire rescue says the man in his 40s was in chest-high water when it took place.
He saw a fish jump over his head, and then the next thing you know, he saw a big splash afterwards and realized that he was in pain, and he had a severe laceration to his arm.
First responders able to give him a tourniquet before he got into the ambulance. Beachgoers kept out of the water for about a half hour, which is apparently common procedure after a shark or any other marine wildlife is spotted. I think I would leave the beach, but some people go back in.
They were able to apply a tourniquet. He was cautious and alert, and he was able to get into our rescue and go to Memorial Regional Hospital.
Good news is he's going to be okay, and we'll have quite a story to tell his friends and family. 5:10, down to Washington. White House Chief of Staff during the Biden administration is scheduled to testify today in the probe of the former president's mental fitness while he was in office. Ron Klain, you probably recognize that name, previously agreed to do a closed-door interview, but it's unknown if he'll plead the fifth and not answer questions, which some of the other Biden administration officials have done. The probe has focused on Biden's mental decline and the use of that auto pen. Republicans say the auto pen use may make some of the Biden pardons void. 5:11, the White House says former President Obama tried to sabotage President Trump after his 2016 election victory. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says newly declassified documents confirm those allegations.
The Obama administration manufactured politicized intelligence, which was later used as the justification for baseless smears against President Trump.
The director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, says Obama officials suppressed evidence, withheld the truth from the American people.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false.
And she says the Obama administration's colluded with intelligence community to go after the president.
They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence.
President Obama's office, they did react to this earlier this week. They haven't reacted to this latest press conference that took place yesterday, but they called the allegations outrageous, bizarre, and a weak attempt at distraction. There were some intense moments inside an Idaho courtroom yesterday where Bryan Kohberger was sentenced for the brutal murders of 4 Idaho college students. Now, part of this deal he made to keep him from being put into the electric chair or put to death was that he wouldn't have to describe a motive for the murders, which seems sort of bizarre. But there were these intense moments yesterday where you get these victim impact statements where families get to speak out about what Bryan Kohberger did. Here's the sister of victim Kaylee Gonclave. She was in the courtroom yesterday.
You didn't win. You just exposed yourself as the coward you are. You're a delusional, pathetic, hypochondriac loser who thought you were so much smarter than everybody else.
Kohberger was gazing forward during these victim impact statements, didn't do a whole lot. There was a couple moments where he stared down some of these people. The former PhD student struck a deal to serve life in prison to avoid the death penalty for those 2022 murders.
You wanted so badly to be different, to be special, to be better, to be deep, to be mysterious. You found yourself thinking you were better than everyone else, and you thought you could figure out the human psyche and see through it, all while tweaked out on heroin. No one is scared of you today. No one is intimidated by you. No one is impressed by you. No one thinks that you are important. You orchestrated this like you thought you were God. Now look at you, begging a courtroom for scraps.
One of the people who spoke out in court yesterday, when what was just an intense couple hours, was surviving roommate Dylan Mortensen. Spoke in court, and Kohberger apparently staring them down.
What happened that night changed everything. Because of him, 4 beautiful, genuine, compassionate people were taken from this world.
Yeah.
He tried to take everything from me. My friends, my safety, my identity, my future. He took their lives, but I will continue trying to be like them, to make them proud.
And she wanted to explain to the court how those murders affected her mentally.
I couldn't be alone. I had to sleep in my mom's bed because I was too terrified to close my eyes. Terrified that if I blinked, someone might be there. I made escape plans everywhere I went.
Kohberger not showing much emotion to any of those statements. He has been sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murders of those 4 college students in Idaho. All right, 5:15. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noam Layden. We'll start here on the diamond in Queens. Pete Alonso hit a 3-run homer to power the Mets to a 6-3 win and a series sweep of the LA Angels. Alonso mired in a 2-for-34 slump dating back to July 10th. Homered 2 batters after Francisco Lindor broke a career-long 0-for-31 drought with an RBI single. Brandon Nimmo hit his 14th career leadoff homer, and Lindor added another RBI single in the 4th for the Mets, who swept the series for the 5th time this season. Sean Manaea, making his 3rd appearance and 2nd start after battling oblique and elbow injuries, allowed 1 run and struck out 5 over 5 innings. Edwin Diaz got the final 4 outs for his 21st save. Alonso's first homer since July 8th was the 248th of his career, pulling him within 4 of Darryl Strawberry for the all-time franchise lead. Up next for the Mets, who leapfrogged Philadelphia last night in the division to take sole possession of first place in the NL East. An off day today before they travel west for a 6-game road trip starting in San Francisco tomorrow night. In Toronto, the Yankees put together one of the most embarrassing defensive displays on a baseball diamond, making 4 errors en route to an 8-4 loss in their series finale and rubber game against the first-place Blue Jays. Aaron Judge hit his 37th homer, a 2-run drive off Toronto starter Bassett, and Jason Dominguez added a solo shot, but the Yankees lost for the 7th time in 10 meetings, I should say. With Toronto, left-hander Max Fried and first baseman Ben Rice both made errors that led to Blue Jays runs. Right fielder Cody Bellinger didn't get charged with an error when he lost a 6th-inning fly in the twilight, leading to Ernie Clement's triple. Yankees manager Aaron Boone and pitching coach Matt Blake were ejected for arguing balls and strikes in the top of the 7th. Fried matched a season worst by allowing 6 runs, 4 earned, and 6 hits in 5 1/3 innings, exiting after Straw's double. He walked 3 and struck out 3. In 2 starts against Toronto this month, Fried has allowed 10 runs in 11 1/3 innings. Yanks now sit 4 games back of Toronto for first place in the AL East. And the Giants held the first training camp practice yesterday, open to the public, Noam Layden, and the same will go for this morning at the G-Men practice facility. If you're heading out there, gates are opening up at 8:30. Practice starts at 10 a.m. The Jets will hold their first public access practice tomorrow. And, of course, you get that Hall of Fame game next Thursday, July 31st. Between the Lions and the Chargers. That is your Sports Gnome. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:19. French President Emmanuel Macron is suing podcaster Candace Owens for claiming his wife is a man.
The lawsuit, filed Wednesday, alleges Owens has waged a relentless year-long campaign of defamation against the Macrons. It also alleges that she sold merchandise promoting the claim and that they repeatedly asked her to stop, only filing a lawsuit as a last resort. The Macrons are seeking punitive damages against Owens and her businesses for 22 counts of defamation. Owens responded on YouTube by calling it a desperate public relations strategy. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Down in D.C., the president holding a summit on AI yesterday. He wants America to be the world leader in AI.
As President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
President says he has an AI action plan for the U.S. It includes 3 parts: accelerating innovation, building out AI infrastructure, and making American hardware and software the standard AI platform.
Whether we like it or not, we're suddenly engaged in a fast-paced competition to build and define this groundbreaking technology that will determine so much about the future of civilization itself. We will not allow any foreign nation to beat us. Our children will not live on a planet controlled by the algorithms, adversaries advancing values and interests contrary to our own. We take historic action to reassert the future which belongs to America, always has belonged to America. We just lost sight of it on occasion.
Some of the biggest leaders in an AI taking part in that forum yesterday. 5:21. There continues to be outrage in the flood-ravaged parts of Texas Hill Country as they continue to figure out everything surrounding it, how it happened, why there wasn't warning systems. And now there's been this rumor going around that Texas Hill Country, these lawmakers there, are rushing to raise property taxes by 8% to pay for the mess left behind. But yesterday, the Kerr County Commissioner had to come out and just say there's no truth to that story.
Speaking of those false rumors, I think I stomp out 3 or 4 every day.
Commissioner Don Harris warns that in the future they'll be forced to address the flood damage. He hopes it'll be accomplished with, he says, tightened belts like they did during COVID.
Oh my gosh, this is absurd. If it sounds too crazy to believe, call us, because it usually is. The false rumors are rampant. Yeah. Some of them just flat, not false, they're just lies.
Yeah, there's one of those crazy rumors they had to douse recently. It was that the clouds were seeded ahead of those showers, and that's what made things as bad as they were. It's estimated the county lost about $200 million in real estate value from those flash floods that took place on July 4th. Police in Costa Rica say Malcolm Jamal Warner's drowning death on Sunday was accidental. We're getting more details. Correspondent Jesse Kirsch reports Warner was on vacation with his wife and daughter and swimming at the beach when that tragedy struck.
According to investigators, the 54-year-old was swept away by the sea's current before bystanders were able to pull him out of the water. But at that time, he had no vital signs.
And if that story just isn't terrible enough on its own, well-liked actor, his wife and daughter right there. In fact, his daughter was swimming with him when he was taken away. She was rescued.
The source close to Warner says all signs point to this having been a tragic accident. And the Costa Rican Red Cross says it treated a second man here at the scene. That individual, at last word, was in critical condition, taken to a local clinic.
Yeah, just rough surf down in Costa Rica. 523. Uber is launching a new feature here in the U.S. that will pair women drivers and riders.
The rideshare company will begin piloting the feature in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Detroit next month, marking its latest move to address safety on the platform. The company said the rider's preference isn't guaranteed, but the feature increases the chances women will be paired in the app. Uber also said it tested the feature in countries including France, Germany, and Argentina. I'm at Mattinson.
Down to Texas, where the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, losing a key endorsement in his bid to replace Senator John Cornyn. The state's most prominent conservative activist group, it's called Texas Values, says they can no longer back someone who committed adultery. Apparently, the couple he committed... Well, he didn't admit to it, but it was part of his background that his wife left him, and she claims he committed adultery.
We have standards when we make endorsements, and if we feel that a candidate does not meet that standard, we reserve the right to withdraw that endorsement.
So apparently this is a pretty big deal in Texas not to get this backing. The group's president, Jonathan Sinaz, says that supporting traditional marriage is one of their key values. Paxton and his wife, State Senator Angela Paxton, recently filed for divorce. She accused him of adultery, and previously his infidelity was a key part of his impeachment trial in the state legislature.
The spouse has been unfaithful and multiple times. We feel like adultery is an attack on marriage.
Yeah. All right. Summertime is a prime time for grilling, but this year the cookouts are costing just a little bit more. The latest numbers show beef prices have climbed to record highs.
And that's because, we've got fewer cattle. We've got a smaller cow herd in the U.S., fewer animals going to market.
Texas A&M livestock economist David Anderson there says this has been simmering for years. A 3-year drought has dried out pastures and raised the cost of feed. So, of course, that's being passed on to us. Another factor, he says, is the demand for beef is up as people seek out foods that are not processed and go for things like beef.
We really had a tightening up of supplies, and that showed up in the last Consumer Price Index report. Combined drought with poor prices, ranchers all over the country were reducing the size of their herd, and now it's finally caught up to us.
Beef prices are around $6 a pound. This is part of the issue is the dried out pastures, the rising cost of feed. And the USDA has actually also halted imports of cattle from Mexico over concerns about a parasitic fly. That's part of the issue. The other part is there's these tariffs on Brazil, which is a big meat exporter, 50% tariffs that could go in place August 1 if they're not able to negotiate a deal, and that may also spike the prices of meat in the U.S. as well. 526, Coca-Cola will soon offer a version of its soda made with U.S. cane sugar. Correspondent Hallie Jackson has more.
Coca-Cola already uses cane sugar in its Mexican version, but high fructose corn syrup in what you usually find here in the U.S. This version isn't going anywhere, but the new product they're adding will feature only American cane sugar.
The President Trump announcing last week that he had been speaking to officials with the soft drink giant and that they agreed to use real cane sugar in Coke here in the U.S.
We give people more choice and more ways to enjoy the Coca-Cola brand.
And Hallie Jackson, the correspondent there, says this will be available come the fall.
The push now appears to revolve around the president's MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again, led by his health secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's long favored the switch to cane sugar.
Yeah, until now, if you wanted the cane sugar, you had to get the Mexican Coke, which cost just a little bit more because they had to bring it over the border.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Talking the news with Noam Laden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the News with Noam on 77 WABC.
That is me. Good morning. It is Thursday, July 24th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sun and clouds. You're going to notice it's a lot more humid than it has been. The high 87. Tonight and overnight, some clouds, low 76, and then Friday, really hot. Sunshine, hot and humid, but of course it is summertime, high 97. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are, it's 69 and cloudy in Mount Vernon up in Westchester County, 65 and cloudy in Edison over in New Jersey, and it's 68 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 5:38. 3 people injured after a wall at a furniture store in Queens just collapsed yesterday evening. People working and shopping. This was Jericho Turnpike right on the Queens-Nassau border about 5 o'clock. They heard the sounds of hundreds of cinder blocks dropping to the pavement when the facades of several stores just kind of peeled away. Here's what people said they heard.
I thought a bomb went off, honestly. Honest to God, I thought a bomb went off.
I went outside, I see someone screaming. I just called 911 right away.
Yes, so in that rubble, there was somebody. He was able to stand up, but people... And it's amazing to watch. They just ran over to help this guy. Like 175 feet of facade wall collapsed onto the sidewalk, the street below. It kicked up a cloud of dust. And then that's when they heard somebody screaming from the rubble, and witnesses worked together to go in and rescue him.
Luckily, only one person was underneath. He came out and he was already standing on his own. Thank God.
A lot of people ran over. Yep, no, without hesitation, just ran over and started getting the guy out of the rubble.
Now, what cops are telling us is the 25-year-old suffered pain in his back, was taken to the hospital, but they say he's going to be okay. The debris also hit a parked Jeep, and there was an 11-year-old girl and a 13-year-old girl sitting in that Jeep. So they suffered some pain to the back, and one of the girls suffered pain to the right leg. But the good news is they're both going to be okay. Now the Department of Buildings, of course, at the scene trying to figure out exactly what took place. 5:40, for 4 straight nights, a man who we know who he is has been vandalizing the summer stage at the middle of Central Park. That's where all those concerts are, free concerts during the course of the summer. So video that Eyewitness News got a hold of shows a man destroying everything he could find at night, in the middle of the night, at the Central Park stage, or even in the early morning hours. So police identify him as 25-year-old Nicholas Evans. They say he's homeless and may have some mental health issues, and he's a repeat offender. So 4 straight nights, you would think after he's caught that they would then maybe keep him behind bars, maybe find him the mental health services that he needs. But no, judge just lets him back out to do it all over again. And the people who run the summer stage, some of them running the refreshment stand or the stage itself, say it's disheartening because they show up at work and there's all these things they have to fix.
I told him that he had to leave. He said that I had to leave. He said that this is his home. Sometimes he finds a large object and tries to pick them open. Sometimes he picks up rocks and just throws rocks at the doors. And then once he gets in, he rummages through all the food, all the drinks. He smashes things that are inside, and
then runs away, and then comes back to do it again.
Yeah, he's ruined all the snacks and drinks intended to be sold to raise funds for Summer Stage, which provides those free live music performances in the middle of Central Park every summer. Every day his vandalism, they say, makes it harder to get things up and running again.
To have to continue to come in and have this be a reset for us every day is a frustrating thing. We work hard to put these shows on and make a great act for New York City to come and see, and to come in and see that happen is definitely disheartening.
The executive director of Summer Stage estimates it's about $15,000 in damage. It's a lot of money. And he says he's continued to avoid punishment, this homeless man. There's not a lack of trying, because the cops deliver him, arrest him, and then the judge frees him.
They keep doing their job and taking him in, and he just keeps getting released and coming back for more. And it's just disheartening.
He has mental health issues, and those need to be addressed.
Of course, the Manhattan DA's office declined to prosecute at least 2 of Evans' arrests from earlier this week, saying there was no eyewitnesses to the crime. But now there's a video, so they should be able to take a look at that. 5:43, a big change coming to New York City public schools beginning in September. Cell phone ban, that'll begin starting the 25-26 school year in September. Internet-enabled devices such as cell phones, tablets, smartwatches no longer will be allowed to be used during the school day by students. Now, when you talk to people who work inside the schools, for the most part, they think this is a great idea.
Phones have stolen the vital building blocks like face-to-face connection, spontaneous play, unstructured exploration, the ability to focus deeply.
Mayor Adams, the public schools chancellor, Melissa Ramos, announcing the updated cell phone electronic device policy yesterday, which will become a standard for all 1,600 public schools across the city. Under this policy, students can use the phone or their devices on the way home from school, but they must be turned off and put away during the school day.
Oh, absolutely. We already started a no cell phone in this building, and it has improved socially for the students. They're interacting, involved in class. It's wonderful.
A lot of kids my age are usually trapped on the internet, so phone bans could actually help them pay attention more.
I don't like it. Phones are good to have, for safety reasons.
Yes, so schools will be required to provide at least one method for families to reach their kids during the school day in case, of course, of an emergency, and provide those students a secure way to store their devices during the school day.
I work in a high school, so I think not having cell phones is a relief for the teachers so the kids can actually do their work and continue. But I know the kids actually miss having interaction with their friends on their phone.
Yeah, there will also be specific exceptions to the policy for students who need devices for medical reasons. But otherwise, the New York City's almost 1 million public school students will no longer have access to their cell phone during school hours, just on their way to school, and then they'll be handed that phone on the way back home. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noah Maladen. We'll start here on the diamond out in Queens. Pete Alonso hit a 3-run homer to power the Mets to a 6-3 win. A series sweep of the LA Angels. Alonso mired in a 2-for-34 slump dating back to July 10th. Homered 2 batters after Francisco Lindor broke a career-long 0-for-31 drought with an RBI single. Brendan Nimmo hit his 14th career leadoff homer, and Lindor added another RBI single in the 4th for the Mets, who swept the series for the 5th time this season. Sean Manaea making his 3rd appearance and 2nd start after coming off the IL, allowed 1 run and struck out 5 over 5 innings. Edwin Diaz got the final 4 outs for his 21st save. Alonso's first homer since July 8th was 248th of his career, pulling him within 4 of Darryl Strawberry for the all-time franchise lead. Up next for the Mets, who leapfrogged Philadelphia last night in the division to take sole possession of first place. An off day today before they travel west for a 6-game road trip starting in San Francisco tomorrow night. In Toronto, the Yankees put together one of the most embarrassing defensive displays on a baseball diamond, making 4 errors en route to an 8-4 loss in their series finale and rubber game against the first-place Blue Jays. Aaron Judge hit his 37th homer, a 2-run drive off Toronto starter Bassett, and Jason Dominguez added a solo shot, but the Yankees lost for the 7th time in 10 meetings with Toronto. Left-hander Max Fried and first baseman Bennett Rice Both made errors that led to Blue Jays runs. Right fielder Cody Bellinger lost a fly ball in the twilight. Wasn't charged for an error, but that led to Ernie Clement's triple. Yankees manager Aaron Boone and pitching coach Matt Blake were ejected for arguing balls and strikes in the top of the 7th. Everything just kind of sort of fell apart last night.
What's going on with your Yankees?
For the Yankees, man. I mean, they threw like a hissy fit last night collectively as a team, man. I don't know if you watched any of this game, but there was a good 2-3 inning stretch where they literally couldn't field a ground ball. Wow. It couldn't happen. Like routine ground balls to third base, right off a guy's kneecap, right off the heel of his glove, and throwing balls into the ground. Max Fried was like, I mean, it's a tough play, a little dribbler trying to throw it home and get the runner at home. But, I mean, my God, man, it's a 4-foot throw. Just pitch the goddamn thing, shovel it or whatever. But, I don't know. It was
not last night.
Tough showing for the Yankees, especially coming off a big win in the middle game of that set. You had a rubber game, try to win a series against a first-place opponent here, and they just crapped the bed. So, we'll see what happens, but now they're sitting 4 games back, so it's not looking too hot. Giants held their first training camp practice yesterday, open to the public. Same will go for this morning at the G-Men practice facility. Gates open 8:30, practice starts at 10. Jets will hold their first public access practice tomorrow, and, of course, you get that Hall of Fame game opening the preseason schedule next Thursday, July 31st. That's between the Lions and the Chargers. That's your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49 out to Long Island. New York State Assemblywoman Michelle Salagas visiting ICE detainees at the Nassau County Correctional Center in East Meadow yesterday.
It was heartbreaking because I know that one day in those cells it's going to be probably my neighbor.
Salagas made the visit alongside State Senator Julia Salazar, who described meeting a man behind bars from Huntington who said that he had been in the U.S. for more than 20 years, has a family and is a small business owner.
He is a member of his community. He's a small business owner. He has a family in Huntington. It really does all of us a disservice to have individuals like him behind bars when they haven't committed a crime.
The two lawmakers say there are currently 14 ICE detainees in the jail, all of them men. Republican Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman says he does think some migrants should be allowed to stay in the country if they're gainfully employed and have been here for a long time.
I think that the folks in Washington need to get together and figure out a plan to make sure that we have the workers that we need for our economy to continue to grow, and also at the same time have a common sense and compassionate approach to people who've been here for a long time.
Two Democratic lawmakers described the conditions in the detention center to be okay. Here in the city, Mayor Adams looking into what appears to be poor conditions at an ICE holding center in Lower Manhattan. You may have seen this video. Shows migrants appearing to be sleeping on the floors, poor bathroom conditions, 26 Federal Plaza.
We are going to coordinate with our local electeds to look at what is happening there, including our federal electeds.
New York Immigration Coalition says the video shows the facilities being used as a detention center as opposed to a holding center. Department of Homeland Security, though, disputing that, saying immigrants are just being processed there and then transferred to detention centers. 551, the MTA says fare evasion is on the decline, but at stations like the Metropolitan Avenue one in Williamsburg, News 12 watched on as people just jumped over the fare gate right in front of them, as over the turnstiles. They didn't care that there were cameras on them. There were people who were skipping the $2.90 fare, even though we hear that fare evasion is down.
Everybody from teens to people in suits, so it's not higher or lower than what I've seen historically.
Yeah, it's hard to convince riders that fare evasion is down because they say they see it almost every single day. But the MTA says it's down 30% first quarter of 2025. MTA credits the decrease to enhanced enforcement efforts and new tools that make it easier to pay the fare.
It sucks, but I mean, what are you going to do? Like, there's not enough resources to crack down on that. I'd rather see that than like homeless psychopath in the middle of the subway with no pants on.
A first offense, if you're caught jumping the fare, jumping the turnstile, gets you a warning. A second results in a $100 fine. Up to Rockland County, Orangetown police say a 31-year-old driver tried to beat a train on his way to work at an Amazon warehouse. That usually doesn't work out very well, and that was the case here. He was in a Prius that was smashed at this rail crossing on Oratani Avenue. Now, the good news is nobody was hurt.
Pay attention when you see the gate coming down. You hear the bell ringing and the light flashing. There's nothing else to it.
Yeah, why in your right mind you would try to beat a train at a train crossing to get to work on time is beyond me.
Every day, multiple times a day, the train comes through here, the gates come down,
yeah,
the cars wait, and then they go past. I haven't seen an issue until yesterday.
Yes, CSX, the freight train company involved in that crash, sharing some safety tips yesterday. One of them is do not try to beat a train, which is a good one. Lots of people have issues with their landlord, but an apparent building in Queens, tenants have some extreme complaints there.
The tenants are suing their landlord on 80th Street in Jackson Heights, saying rental giant A&E Real Estate has carried out years of willful neglect. The company manages over 15,000 apartments across the city, but in this 6-story, largely rent-stabilized building, tenants allege seniors have been left stranded by non-working elevators. The lawsuit also claims things like basic repairs left undone, rodent infestation, electrical hazards, and dangerous mold. One tenant saying he decided action needed to be taken after hearing an older man routinely wheeze while struggling up the stairs. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
Over to New Jersey, where homeowners there, businesses stung by that 20% increase in the cost of electricity last year, will have even bigger bills in 2026. The regional power grid, known as PJM, announcing the results of this year's capacity auction, and the auction is held to determine how much energy power plants will generate and what the wholesale cost of purchasing the power will be. So bills will go up anywhere from 1.5 to 5% next year. That's on top of the 20% increase last year.
I have heard that it's supposed to go up, but who knows? You know, it's one of those things that just come out of your account and you don't even know about it.
Yeah, Democrats are blaming Republicans for this. Republicans are blaming Democrats.
When you count the summer and the air conditioning that's going constantly, especially as hot as it has been, I can tell the electric is going up.
Yeah, bills have been pretty high this summer because it's been so hot.
Hold on a second.
What's that?
What do you mean Democrats are blaming Republicans? Last I checked, the crappy governor, now finishing up his second and thank God last term in New Jersey,
right,
Phil Murphy, is a Democrat. What do you mean Democrats are blaming Republicans?
Well, because there's all these people on these different committees who
I'm begging you to stop.
Well, but I'm telling you the truth.
No.
It's not.
No.
It is a mutual blame game here. You
well,
can't
I
blame one
understand
side.
that. That's what we do every day, right?
Yeah.
That's what Joy Behar does, and that's what Sonny Hostin does. But I'm telling you the truth, which is you can't blame Republicans. That's why.
Well, in this case, unfortunately, you are incorrect because they both sit on these committees and they could deny, they could not green light these.
Phil Murphy is the guy that makes the final call.
Well, he does.
So if Jack Ciattarelli was going to join me today as the governor, that ain't going to happen.
Well, I don't know that that's true.
No, I know that's true.
No, because these auctions are businesses, and the businesses then lay out how much they have to pay for power.
Right.
And then either you go for it or you don't, but if you fight this thing, you usually don't win.
Well, let's find out. Jack Ciattarelli is going to join me today. In fact, two major stories you did this hour about the energy in New Jersey. You also did the poor guy in Huntington who's in an ICE prison. He's been here for 20 years. And Bruce Blakeman sounded like he was critical, which is odd, of Trump in the White House. So both of those guys are on in the 7 o'clock hour
you
today.
You can ask him about the Huntington guy. I think he's upset. At least it sounds like he was. Yeah.
He is. So both Ciattarelli and Blakeman coming up in the 7 o'clock hour today.
Oh, can't wait. One last story while you're here. People are nuts. So, all these people are upset about the Late Show with Stephen Colbert going away. I shouldn't say all these people.
What do you mean all these
Some
people? Like 9 people.
But there was a rally yesterday. And
there's been a rally every day.
No, this was a big one. 250,000 signatures were delivered to Paramount with people begging CBS to keep the Late Show with Stephen Colbert on the air. And people show up to this rally like they have all kinds of time to do this.
What do we do?
Now, they say it's blatantly political. Of course, the network says it's just a money issue.
We want them to know the public's not going away. There is high scrutiny. It's about more than one man or one institution. It's about American democracy, and new institutions cave to Trump in advance.
Now, shut up.
Stephen Colbert's got to love this. I mean,
he does.
Yeah.
And Sonny Hostin said yesterday that the cancellation of Stephen Colbert's show on The View is the beginning of the end of our Constitution. Okay? Look, at the end of the day, folks, whether you agree or disagree politically, CBS has a right. Think about this for a second. CBS has a right not to lose $35 million on that show. Yep. They have a right not to lose $35 million. So for you morons in the streets of New York who are blaming Trump, and that may be part of it, CBS has a right not to lose money.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this protester is blaming Donald Trump for the cancellation.
It's a moron.
Wait, hold on a second. Let's say it.
It's a part of New York City, and it's so sad. And I hate that this is happening.
Oh, okay. No, I thought I heard one of the protesters blaming Donald Trump, but maybe I heard them wrong.
And if Trump did do it, God bless him, he shouldn't stop here. The View, Jimmy Kimmel, all these hateful, idiotic shows on ABC, not CBS.
Right.
They should be next.
Well, if they're making money, they're not going anywhere.
But they're not making money.
I don't know. Are they?
No, they're both in trouble.
So The View's not making any money.
The View's not making any money. You know what kind of salaries they pay out to Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, and so they get 2 million wenches at home watching it in the middle of the afternoon? So what?
Well, if those 2 million wenches are buying the products that are being sold.
Well, what do you think?
I don't know. If it's still on the air, my guess is they're making money off of it.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Hi, I'm Kristen Bell, and if you know my husband Dax, then you also know he loves shopping for a car. Selling a car? Not so much.
We're really doing this, huh?
Thankfully, Carvana makes it easy. Answer a few questions, put in your VIN or license, and done. We sold ours in minutes this morning, and they'll come pick it up and pay us this afternoon.
Bye-bye, truckie.
Of course, we kept the favorite.
Hello, other truckie.
Sell your car with Carvana today. Terms and conditions apply.